point he made about values, okay? The most impressive thing that I have, that I can share with you, is that I have no different values from you as a Jamaican. I grew up in this system. But as he said, if you can transform what that really means to you. So let me try and do my best impression of that. I think one of our presenters said, he used the concept of saving face. If you understand the Japanese, the most important thing is saving face. What is the Jamaican equivalent of that?
Respect.
Enough respect. Right? Not just respect. What kind of respect? Why do we emphasize that? Why do we emphasize that? Yes. The number one thing my wife tells me is when I come to Jamaica, do not piss off the Jamaicans. Why? Why? Because in my mind, every individual in Jamaica can achieve whatever they're trying to achieve. But I need them to be thinking like Usain Bolt. Why? The world. We're there already. If you think that way and you behave that way, you can take ideas such as the most important thing is the government, senior leaders, they're trying to set policy direction. But if you as an individual who's going to make it happen don't believe it's going to happen, and you sit there and just pretend, what do you think is going to happen? What is going to happen? Nothing. And who's going to pay the price? Everyone. It's just that the person on the top seems like they're paying a little bit less price. Right? So at the end of the day, we just had a presentation about what needs to happen at the top. Now you're going to learn about what you need to do. That is your role. So if it's to be, it's up to individuals making a difference is what this is about. All right, you all saw this yesterday. What this is really is a toolkit. Why do we call it a toolkit? Man is a tool using animal. What do I mean by that? If you take a person, take away all the tools that are available to you, we are very useless. We can't do anything. But the minute you start creating a tool, guess what it allows me to do? Leverage, folks. So that's what this toolkit is about. And I don't want you to spend a lot of time trying to understand every tool in the toolkit, but the first tool in the toolkit is really, how do you work together as a team? So here's the challenge. How long did it take us to win the 400, the 4x100 or the 4x400 relay race? How long did it take Jamaica to achieve that? Hello? Why did it take us a lot of years to achieve that? We always had the best athletes. Why? The alignment wasn't there. What happened with the button? Okay, so what just happened? What just happened? We all lost. So it's not about individuals, it's about how you get people to work together. Every one of us have our part to play. But if you learn that particular tool, and that tool is very, very important, that tool brings something to the table that we need to all have. I couldn't help but get from the previous presenter the fact that if you're trying to solve a problem, what must you have? Saving face. And if you get the individual to understand their value, they will use any tool. You don't have to worry about these tools and what they are. It's the fact that the person wants to make a difference. What will they use? Their creativity. So what I'm about to show you is a presentation on how in the US we have gone about solving really big problems. Again, talk about the concepts of the four quadrants. We're in business to make money. These are the values we must have. The value starts with we must eliminate waste in every form. We must make things flow. If things flow, you create value. Creating value is the best way to sustain you as an individual, your organization, the best way to sustain your country. You do that by learning these tools. By doing all this, it becomes the norm. The norm becomes your behavior. Your behavior becomes your culture. So I don't try and change your culture. What I try to do is to change your, and if you do it every single day, you start believing it. So here's an example of an organization. Give you some background to this organization. This organization is a window manufacturer. In the US, one of the biggest part of the economy affected is housing. If you make windows for housing, guess what is going to happen? There's no houses to be made, so you're going to have a problem. So this organization, what they were trying to do is actually make RVs. So here's an example. This is the layout of the factory. That's an example of what the RV door should look like. So they're in crisis. This is a task. We're producing 90 windows in 10 hours. We now need to do 150 in 8 hours. We need to do one piece flow. We need to have a 50% improvement in throughput while improving our manufacturing capability, teamwork and communication, manufacturing flexibility, and operator ownership. Sounds familiar? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to eliminate all the different forms of waste. Folks, you realize what I'm trying to tell you? Individuals start with this basic principle. Eliminate the waste. And if you eliminate the waste, you will improve. Here's the problem we have in all organizations. Our mind, because of the way we think of things, we said that is not waste. You get it? If you don't see the waste, you never eliminate the waste. The most important thing you need to understand is what is waste. Waiting in a line is waste. I know there's not enough people to serve me, but there is another way of doing it. Why do I have to wait in a line? You just think it's acceptable because it's one person. How many different forms of waste did you see based upon my conversation yesterday, between yesterday and today? How many? Did anyone see any more forms of waste? Anyone? Anyone? I see a couple heads. Anyone?
Yeah, some food left over.
Okay. I think we can take care of that one. Any more waste? Folks, I usually don't go on in my presentation unless you understand that this is a key. If you can't see the waste, folks, the tool doesn't matter. You know why? You don't think you have a problem. No problem equal big problem. Okay? That's the basic issue we have. We don't see the problems. Why don't we see the problems? Because the waste is disguised and you have used other words to say it's okay. But until you recognize that, if you don't see the waste, you can't improve. All right? The other tool in the toolkit. If you can see the waste, and I ask you, what would you do about it? Guess what? That's the tool that is most important. Your ability to see the waste and be able to say, hey, if we did this, did this, did this, and then the question then becomes, which one of those actions are we going to take? Oh, there it is.
It's a lean machine.
It's a lean machine. It's not. All right, so here's how we go about it. We basically determined the way this thing should be put together, theoretically. The basic challenge is this is a 3 sub-assemblies. We determined the takt time, how many operators required, what they should be doing. Where is the sensor? Because that's the problem. Where's the sensor? Okay. First thing we then did is look at the system, and we identified all the waste. The biggest indicator of waste is inventory, too much overproduction of stuff. Okay? I got 80 pieces of whip. Why do I have 80 pieces of whip? I should only have 1. So these are the operator. And by the way, when I do training, it's just like Jamaica. I ask the operator, so how does this line flow? He says it's obvious. It goes from him to her to him to, can't you see it? Oh, walk into a building. Where are we supposed to, oh yeah, oh, no, it's obvious in Jamaica, right? It's obvious. Everywhere you go, oh, the guy will help you. What are you doing? What are you doing? Wasting time. If you don't know what to be done when, you're not flowing. So here's the operators, the new plan. They came up with their own plan. You notice 3 lines, 3 different teams. Who does what when? We call this the dance. If you don't have a dance, I know you can't be doing standard work. I know you're making it up every day. And if you're making it up every day, that's not the best way to do it. Okay? There's always one good way, but there's always another way to make it better. You basically, this is that same flow. How do you sell it? The people then took the operators and sold them on their plan. And then we basically, this is the part that is missing in Jamaica. You notice what we're doing? We're doing it. Now we're talking about in a week here. We're not talking about months. It must be, here's the idea, the problem we have. Get the team together. Come up with a plan. Change it. It better work. If not, I did not add any value, so therefore I don't deserve to be paid. The fact that I was there for 4 or 5 days does not matter. Okay, look at the chaos. Organized chaos. Senior management, what is their role? Their role is to ask one and only one question. How can I help this happen? What do you need to be removed as an obstacle so that you can get the job done? Now all of a sudden, we start working. Guess what people find? Contrary to popular belief, it's never the operator or the people at the bottom of the system that is causing the problem why the system will not change. No one who does work will say, doing the work this way is too easy. I like the harder way. No one. I've never met anyone who has said that in their life. Okay? So here's what we do. This is the action plan. You do, these are the things that must be done. These are the things that we have done partially, and who else and when it's going to be done. So, as I told you, on a Monday, they start. On a Thursday, that's where they're doing. So now they're doing 16 units every hour. First 2 hours, problem, no units made. All of a sudden, 20 units, 6 unit, 7, 6, 17, 17. Now all of a sudden, how did they manage to go from not being able to make anything in 4 hours to start making things like clockwork? How did they do it? They did it by using the lean concepts. So 13 units versus 9 units. What was the original goal, if anyone remembers? Okay. So therefore, what happened? We failed. How many did we do? 130. Now, how many people is okay with that? See, I'm a failure. They wanted, how much were they doing before? How many were they doing before? How many? How many? 90. And how many they're doing now? 130. So they're doing how many more? 40 units more, and I'm a failure. I regularly fail, folks. Why? Why? Because you're setting the target, and I know how to fix the problem, because look at this. I see 1, 2, 3 times during the day, during the hour, that they can actually hit the target. So what do we have to fix? Why weren't they able to hit the target hour 1? Why weren't they able to hit the target the first hour? You notice I'm not asking you next month, next week, next year. What did I say? First hour. So I can walk into almost all organizations and within 5 minutes figure out whether or not you're doing whatever you're supposed to be doing. Because you don't work faster, you work at the same pace every second, every minute, every hour. And if you didn't do it this hour, you're not going to do it the next hour. So for 51 years, we've been having that idea. Don't worry, this year we didn't get it right, but next year, we'll get it right. Okay? At what cost? So folks, what I'm trying to tell you, what you should see the Jamaica Productivity Center as, is an organization that can walk into your organization and do what? Do what? And we're not talking about 10% goals here, folks. We're not talking about 50% goals here. We're talking about multiples of 100%. You get where I'm going here? So here's what they achieved. 75% reduction in Kanban. 50% reduction in material handling. They had a 55% reduction in throughput. Improved teamwork, improved communication. Why can I tell you that they have improved teamwork? How do I know that? What am I doing? Passing the button. If I didn't pass it the right way, guess what happened? Okay? All right. Now, that was a manufacturing example. This you're going to see is a business transformation example. Not manufacturing, it's the entire business. And this tool is called a value stream map tool. And this tool looks at end to end. So from the consumer all the way to the production, taking the product out the ground all the way. That's what we call a current state. Okay? And it's basically taking all the steps in the process and documenting them. Right? And you have symbols, very simple ideas, transportation, inventory. So in a process box, what is done, how long does it take, who does it, if there's any problems there. Now, these are the brainstorming tools, folks. It starts with people and an idea. Fishbone diagram. Ask the question, why? 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 And if you ask the question why, what is going to happen? You might get an answer. Take those ideas. Those becomes the currency for improvement. This is why understanding the values that your people currently have is important. Because an idea is the most important thing in this. And if you step on an idea, it's like a delicate flower. What do you do? Okay? So, take ideas, tons of ideas. The more the merrier. By the way, Here's a study that was done. They took 5-year-olds and they tried to ask them questions like, how many different uses can you come up with for a paperclip? Anyone? In 1 minute. How many different uses can you come up with for a paperclip? Anyone?
Too many.
How many is too many? It's just based upon your thinking. So that point was made, the fact that if you took 5-year-olds, they could come up with different ways of using a paperclip, a lot of different ways. If you ask most adults how many different ways you can use a paperclip, guess what they do immediately? They give you a number and they limit the amount of ideas because it's a paperclip, so it can only be used as a paperclip. Here's what you just killed. Creativity, folks. And Jamaicans have a lot of creativity. You see that every day. The point is, the system has to say creativity is important, and we then need to listen to those ideas to implement them. So here's what we're doing. We're looking at value and non-value. And value is at the top, and anything that is non-value is at the bottom. So let me give you an example of where I'm going. Very important. Process cycle efficiency is value added over the total time it takes. Look at normal numbers in the rest of the world. A typical company in a machining operation is only 1% efficient. What do you think Jamaica is? If a typical company in the US is only 1% efficient. Assembly, 15% efficient. Transactions, and this is office workers, 10%. You heard what I'm trying to tell you, folks? I live in the US, and I can tell you all US companies can improve their output by more than 50%. You are where compared to that? Where is Jamaica compared to that?
Close to that.
Close to that? Those are average companies. You understand what I'm saying? If they're doing 1%, what are you doing? No, wait. Multiples, you're doing point something. All right? You understand what we're trying to say? Now, what we call world class, and I gave you an example of world class, Toyota production system. Their machining is at 20%. Now, folks, most people, when you hear about productivity, keep thinking it's a big number. What am I trying to tell you? If the best company in the world is only doing 20%, what am I trying to tell you? That we have a long way to go. We can do it. So here's the key thing. And this is why, the most important thing I want you to take out of this conference is that value added, when people are being productive, is not the issue. The issue is this bottom part. All the unproductive things you're doing. Because here's what happens. If I work on the productive part and I make things faster in less time, the same thing I was doing that was value added, and I cut it by 50%, guess what happens? What happens there? What do you notice? What do you notice? What improved? Did you see something improve? What improved? You sure? Watch again. What number was it? What happened, folks? What happened? What happened? It's very important you get this. value added, actually, the system got worse. Why did the system got worse? Because we focused on the value added. But when you focus on the non-value added, that is the time anything takes, not how fast the machine is going, the time something takes, total time. When I cut that by half, guess what happened? What just happened? I doubled the value that I added. One of our presenters said, Usain Bolt took how many steps? What? 41. And because he takes less steps than, that's why he's winning. So folks, if you don't do the same, if you don't eliminate waste, not trying to make a machine go faster. I'm not telling you machines don't need to go faster. But what is the focus? What is the focus, folks? Getting rid of the waste. And when you get rid of the waste, you get numbers like that. 108% improvement. So the organization, this JPC can help you with that, because your number one challenge is you don't even see the waste. You're saying, that's okay, man, that's all right, that's okay, but it's this we need to fix. It's the entire system, folks. Any part of the system must be waste. Any part of the system must be eliminated. All right, this is our newspaper that says, here's the things we are still working on. And this is an example of Goodwill Industries, which is one of my organizations that I need to talk about. Anyone here knows what Goodwill Industry is? Anyone? Goodwill Industries. Goodwill Industries is a charitable organization, 100% funded by the public. Their model is very simple. They basically take stuff that people don't need, and they recycle it, right? And then they create employment, training. And you know who they think they're competing against? Walmart. See? That's the reaction. How can someone who they respectfully call themselves the smelly clothes people? How can the smelly clothes people compete against the largest single corporation in the world? You know why? It's what our speaker said before. Their model is 100% sustainable. I didn't buy the material. I didn't have to move it anywhere. And I'm using it and I'm creating value. Someone values it. Might not be you, but someone values it. And if I use it to create value, and then that value is greater than my cost, I then get to keep the profits. And if I use the profits in some social way to help a food program, to help someone who's out of a job, to learn to train, guess what I've then done? They have a larger impact on the U.S. economy, a local impact that is, not nationally, local impact than Walmart does. Why? Turns out, it looks to me like that's what Jamaica's problem is. If you keep, and we all know it, importing products that you consume, you don't add any value to, that's a losing equation. Why? Where are you going to get the extra income from? Where are you getting it from? You can't. So you got to understand, industries like this, that's what they do. They use these concepts. They use people who can improve with what they have right now. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.